Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is Jan at Gated Talent. Today, we are joined by Nick Jolly, President and Managing Partner of retained search firm Hadley, Jolly and Associates, and by Roberta Parker, partner at the same firm. So, hi, Nick and Roberta, and thanks for being with us again today.
You're welcome.
So, Nick has over 20 years experience as an executive search and business development consultant. He started his recruiting career in 1995 at Management Search of Rhode Island. And after years of hard work and dedication, he earned a membership at the prestigious Pinnacle Society, which recognizes the elite consultants in the US, with a membership reserved for only 75 individuals. In 2010, Nick started his own search firm, Adley Jolly and Associates, and Roberta also has a decade of executive search experience, managing diverse client relationships nationwide in the US. And today we're going to ask them questions that you've all been submitting in advance. So we have lots of questions to go through. So please refrain sending us more with the chat box because we probably won't have time to address them. But let's get started right away. Let's not waste any more time. So first question for you, Nick and Roberta. Should job seekers create a separate resume for each job they're applying for?
So my answer now, and again, Roberta and I have not gone over these questions together, so we might have different answers. But I believe, yes, you have to now because the human aspect has been taken out of resume reading. Everything is done through AI. It's the buzzwords that they're scanning for on the resume. So if your resume does not have the buzzwords that they're looking for in the job description, you're automatically going to be kicked out of the screening process. So if you're truly interested in an opportunity, you better have the buzzwords on your resume that the job requirements are looking for.
I definitely agree. Now, not every job, like assuming that you're applying for somewhat of the same category of positions, then it might work. But if if one's a marketing position and another is sales or another is operations, yes, you totally have to have different resumes. That the key factor is highlighting achievements, relevant, specific achievements of what you've done and to demonstrate your skill sets like within a quick scan, whether it's a human or a computer. But yes, I definitely think it's helpful because you're catering it towards the position you're looking for, which helps other people understand your knowledge and expertise in that realm.
Okay, thank you very much. So one of our members sent us this comment. Many recruiters don't seem to even open messages, or roles are open for months with no response. How to get noticed or to get a response from recruiters?
You know, if I had the answer for that question, Roberta and I would not be doing this right now. It is very difficult to get responses from anybody, recruiters, hiring managers, anybody.
HR, yeah.
HR. I mean, it is tough now because we've lost the ability to actually communicate verbally with people. Now everything is done via the web or emails or text. And the response is so great from so many people. I mean, literally, Roberta and I are working on a position. They posted it, and 3 days later, they had 1,000 resumes for a software engineering position. Literally 1,000. So
in a remote area where it's not even...
Exactly, in the middle of nowhere. And so I'm not surprised you're not getting responses from recruiters because the response that they're receiving from the listings are so great. So you've got to think outside the box. You've got to find, you can't just respond to the ad because it just goes to a box. You got to find that. Look at when you're searching for a new position, it's a job itself. You got to do you got to find out who the hiring manager is. Send them your information. You got to find out what the separate email address is for the HR person. You've got to send your resume not just to the job listing, but to everyone within the organization that you can. Because if someone likes it, they're going to pass it to the person who is responsible for filling the role. But if you're just relying on, hey, I'm going to apply for this position, hopefully the recruiter gets a hold of me, you're fishing without a worm on your hook. I mean, literally, like I said, they're getting thousands of responses, and your headline on your email is not going to be any different from anyone else's. It's going to say Rec 103948, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not surprised, but again, you've got to do more of your homework and find out who the hiring manager is or who else you can send the resume to.
Okay. Great advice there. Roberta, do you want to add anything?
I totally agree. I think, use LinkedIn, find someone if you're interested in the organization, find someone that you may have a connection with, ask them who the hiring manager will be. They can give you a name or their email or, but definitely it is important to have that personal contact. Or a recruiter who's representing you personally, so you don't get lost in the system.
And I'll give you an analogy here. If you're, I don't know if baseball's a big thing in Europe, but if you get one pitch and you have to swing at it and you miss it, you're done. I'd rather have 3 or 4 or 5 pitches that I can swing at, and those are the individuals that you should be reaching out to, as many people as possible within the organization.
Okay, thank you very much. This question is from one of our members, and she says, as a middle-aged woman, how can I switch careers without taking a huge pay cut?
Well, I don't think being a middle-aged woman means that you have to take a pay cut for anything. But if you're switching careers, first of all, what skills are you bringing to the position? I mean, the most qualified person is going to get the job. Now, if you're the right person, they're going to make you a fair offer. So I don't think you have to take a pay cut if you're switching careers, but you're probably not the most qualified person for the role. There are probably people in the industry doing that position who's making a lot more money. I mean, I wouldn't pay someone, whether they're male or female, less or more if they're not qualified for the role when I have other people qualified. So I don't think it's a gender thing. I just think if you're going to switch careers, you got to find something that you want to do. And if you can make the same money, great. But more than likely, you're going to take a haircut.
And I think a lot of, I guess, the way I read that question or hear that question is, I think it's more of the mindset. I think you have to get over that mindset of being fearful or doubtful, or if this is really the direction you're committed and going in because it's your passion, or you've realized this is really where you can apply your skills, sometimes you just have to take that leap of faith and realize that it's going to work. Now, obviously, financially, you have to figure out a budget, or will it work, or how can it work? Can you get a part-time job temporarily while you're working full-time? Can you reduce your expenses? Can you make that leap of faith and make it work to give yourself a chance? That's the dream. That's what you have to be committed to go for. If it's your calling, that's like the best word I can use. If you feel like this is your calling, explore ways to do it. Can you get a mentee or a mentor, for someone to mentor you as a mentee? Can you volunteer? Can you do some, just some sort of small step to get your feet wet and then you make that full leap. Is that a possibility? There are ways to explore that, and it's not, it depends. I mean, it depends how big of a drastic career change is this. Maybe you need online certifications. Maybe you need some courses. Maybe, you just to get the extra things that will put you over the finishing line. But
Right.
if there's the desire there, now's the time to explore it, because it only gets harder, right?
True.
And sometimes you have to take a step backwards to take 2 steps forward.
Exactly. And it's worth it. And
Yeah,
we say that to our
again.
candidates all the time, and it has been worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you. What advice would you offer executives regarding how they budget their time and prioritize the different elements of a search?
Look, at finding a new role is a job in itself. The effort you put in is the effort you'll get back. So, it just depends on how serious you are finding a new role. I mean, don't expect, if you only put 20 minutes in a day, don't expect a lot I mean, you have to do your research. You have to find that position, that company you want to work for or work with. It's not a part-time thing. Finding a job is a full-time position, especially if you're unemployed. You have no job, so this should be your number one priority. It's not something that you can do part-time.
And I
you've got to
do
take
think, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I do think one of, like, if you can, I mean, it's so important how you have to do your research into the culture, into the company, talk to people if you can. If you can go to conferences where you know that company is going to be at, or events, if you can do business functions where you know someone from that company might be there, where you can, genuinely ask about them. Do they like working there? What has their career been like? Where you really make those genuine connections, that will help as well, to help you to get an insight in. As an example, a decade ago, when I was more focused on life sciences, women created a group in Boston that was called WEALTH, which stood for Women Executives Advancing Life Sciences, Technology, and Healthcare. And it was women executives in life sciences, technology, and healthcare. And we decided we're going to get together, we're going to support each other and empower each other and give each other a leg up. You can create groups like that. We did it, and it was enormously successful.
And the other thing I'll say is this: when you're first embarking on a job search, you got to take a sniper's perspective. Pick the 10 companies that you want to work for or work with. If that doesn't pan out, then you got to go the shotgun method, where you pick 20 or 30 more companies. Be specific on what you want to do right away. If you don't get that, well, then you've got to change your priorities. But you've got to have a plan in place, and then you've got to work the plan. And again, and that's just not sending resumes. That's finding out who the individuals are that you should talk to. Are there, like Roberta says, are there any associations that you should join? Are there any conferences that you should go to?
Events.
Anything. I mean, the more you get your name out there, write something on Gated Talent or LinkedIn, write an article or whatever. It costs absolutely nothing to do that. You just want to get your name out there as much as possible.
Exactly. I think that's a huge point is, for example, LinkedIn, write relevant articles where you're showing your expertise. Make relevant comments, not just but relevant comments on other articles. Share, get your name with people that you want to work with your future colleagues or associates. interact with them, start having those conversations with them. And it really is, I think we have lost so much community in the past 10, 20 years. We've really lost community and sense of connection. And I think right now, things are calling us to get back to making those real, genuine connections where you're interested in them and they can maybe help you. And that's how you do it. But that has gone by the wayside. And actually, I don't know about the rest of the world, but in America, it's fivefold in the past 10 years. We have lost connections where now, our networks have greatly diminished, our friendships have diminished, and we don't make the effort anymore. I think that's where you're seeing the difficulties nowadays, just with where now it's computerized and you're not getting that human touch.
It's very non-personal, very non-personal.
Okay, thank you. The next one, we've already addressed it. I mean, it's a similar question to the first one, so I'm going to skip that one. Okay, I know what I don't want anymore, but I'm finding it hard to know what I really want. Is there a way of moving forward?
Self-evaluation. Yeah, executive coach, a mentor, someone you trust. I mean, you know, again, it comes down to communication. You got to talk to someone. Don't try to figure it out yourself, because someone might have some good opinions of what you could do or what you can't do. Again, it all comes back to communication, talking with people. What do you think I should do?
Someone you really trust and value. You value their opinion. You trust that they're going to be straight with you. They're not going to sugarcoat it. Get feedback. Ask them, do you think this would be a good move for me? And then they may bring up things that you never thought of, that you were blindsided by or blinded to. It helps to be patient and then really focus on right now, what really is my dissatisfaction? How can that problem be solved? Will it be solved by moving just to a different company, but in the same role? Will it be solved by, I don't like what I'm doing at all and I want to do something different? And so how do I take the steps to get those skills or that chance to prove myself? I think with that, it's more of like a lot of introspection. Where you are financially, what can you do? Where are you at in life? Can you take a big risk right now and bank on yourself for it to pay off?
Yeah, find that person who's going to tell you what you need to hear versus what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm. And that's, as Nick and I, as recruiters, that's what we try to tell our candidates. We're gonna be straightforward with you, so that hopefully we can help you. Because it doesn't help anyone when you don't have any trust factor, or you can't trust what they say.
Yeah, correct. Okay, thank you for that. Next one. Okay, this one should be interesting. How do executive recruiters view a senior professional on a sabbatical looking to pivot his career to a different industry?
Anytime you make a change, it's difficult. Anytime you make a change and there's a big gap between your positions, it's even more difficult. So you've got to have a reason why, and people want to know why you did certain things. Again, we don't make bad decisions because we have too much information. We make bad decisions because we don't have enough information. So if someone's questioning your sabbatical and why you're making a career move, you better have good reasons. And if they ask you why you took time off, you better have good reasons. And again, it all comes down to, can I communicate why I did something or why I want to do something? And once people understand the why, things will go a lot easier for you.
Right. It's understanding the motivations, because unfortunately, a lot of times people use that word sabbatical in quotes, where it was just a period of unemployment, and it's not, they can't really explain why there was a huge gap, and it makes people worry and doubt and question of like, I really don't understand this. I really can't put those pieces together of why this happened and why it went so long. Now, if you do have a really good motivation, and this oftentimes happens to women, but also men, taking care of an elderly parent in their last stages of life, or taking care of a spouse who is in the last stages of life, something like that. I mean, that is like understandable and explainable or explicable, whatever the word is. I mean, but you have to, someone has to know that it wasn't, oh, you tried many, 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 many times to get a job but were never hired for some reason, which that's what lingers in their mind. If you
those are
really
red flags.
weren't looking and you were like, no, even if you're younger, I just spoke to a software engineer who, it was a startup company, they lost funding, he's very young, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to take 6 months to recharge my batteries and just really go out in the great outdoors, get from behind a desk. And I'm going to do that because I know I financially can, and then jump back in the game with recharge batteries. Well, I think that's totally legitimate, in my opinion, and I'll sell it if there's a candidate who comes my way doing that.
Okay, fantastic. So what if a person wants to find their next job and they want to network, but they don't really have a network? How do you get started?
This is the one thing that Roberta and we did talk about, this one thing about the network, because I said to Roberta, my network is down to like 3 or 4 people, where 10 years ago it was 15 people. The world has changed because we don't pick up the phone and talk to anyone anymore. Everything's done via email or text. So if you don't have a network, I'm sure you have 3 or 4 people that you know. That's the start. And you can only start with what you have, and then you try to build it from there. But I think the problem now with a lot of individuals is they don't have a network because we don't communicate the way we used to. The old saying is, anytime you can shake someone's hand, shake it, meet them. Now it's,
yes.
Hey, send me a text, send me an email. I think that just doing these webinars, and I can see Roberta, I can see you, Jan. I think now we're making it personal. And I think you have to have a personal and professional network, because they kind of go hand in hand nowadays, because your network is only your friends. The days of going out with your coworkers, your bosses, I don't think that exists very often nowadays. But unless you go into conferences, but it's strictly business. Where before it's, hey, we're having a company party, everyone come over. It's just changed. So you've got to work it. You got to keep that network not just fresh, but expand on it.
Yeah, and I definitely see that, because 10 years ago, I was going to lunch with women from wealth, going to lunch, or I'm going to be in the area. Hey, let's get a coffee, or, let's go to dinner, where, you did have more social interactions with your business colleagues. And I also think just the reverse almost, where if you have community organizations, whether it be church or synagogue or mosque or whatever, something like that, PTA, anything, alumni groups from your college, get involved with those. Get involved. Get to know those people. Ask them who they might, it's not just, oh, it's all about me, but show an interest in them. And someone may know, oh, I actually have a friend I was talking to the other day, or a neighbor, where they're looking for someone exactly like you. Let me introduce you. I really do think we have drifted away from that. And that's what everyone has angst about right now.
And the other thing is, there's so many tools out there to create a network. If LinkedIn or whatever. I mean, there are associations for every industry out there: marketing, engineering, you name it. Volunteer to give a webinar, volunteer to write an article, whatever. Get your name out there.
Get involved.
Get involved and build your network. If you don't have a network, shame on you. It's your own fault. And it's shame on me and shame on Bert for not keeping up with our network, because it's tough out there right now. I mean, the last thing I want to be doing is looking for another position. And believe me, Roberta and I are looking for those positions to fill, and they're tough to find.
Yeah. And it's so easy to go kind of like you fall into this, but it's so easy just to send an email or a LinkedIn message. It's so easy, but a lot of those go ignored, and they're and people are inundated, and everyone is like, I can't even keep up with my own stuff, much less extraneous people trying to connect with me, that you tend to like just ignore emails from people you don't know, or in mails, unfortunately. But it's a time constraint, and I think it's easier if you have like a specific company that it's commutable distance to you, and you're interested in them. Get to know people in that company.
And let me just add this to you. Add to your network right now. Send Roberta and me a note. Hey, got nothing out of your resume. Hey, best conference I ever had, or webinar I ever listened to. Start building a reference with us. We can only help you. We can't hurt you, but it's a start.
Absolutely. And at the end of this call, everyone will receive an email which will include links to Nick and Roberta's LinkedIn profiles, so you'll be able to connect.
And we would love the feedback. We want feedback.
Give us relevant feedback. How can we improve? How could we help you even more? Or something specific, relevant that you got out of this.
Absolutely. So you'll also have an option to go to a Trustpilot link where you can leave comments about the webinar there if you'd like to do so. I think we have time for one final question for today, an interesting one. Do you think getting your resume professionally written using a paid service makes a difference? Is it worth doing?
Berta, what do you think?
I do. I don't think you have to do that. I mean, I've never done that, but you can really tell a professionally done resume versus one that's just thrown together. Now, I tend to be a person where I really don't care what the resume looks like. It's only a resume. Who cares? It's can you communicate and present yourself? Do you present yourself well? Or can you communicate and share your passion? Can you give relevant, when you're having that conversation, can you convince me, even if your resume looks, it's like not hot? And then I will always, as a recruiter, say, forget the way the resume looks. It doesn't matter. It's what the person has done. But if it's just to some HR person where they 11 seconds look at a resume and say, oh, this is a horrible resume, I'm going to discount this person. I think that's unfortunate because a lot of times, it's just people, that's not their skill set and they haven't paid someone to do it. I think the flip side is when your resume, it becomes a bunch of buzzwords and catchwords and loses all personalization and it looks like just a form or AI did it over the web and you can find lots of those. I'm actually turned off because now it looks incredibly professional and polished, but where's the personalization? I mean, that's what I think, but what do you
So
think?
I have a yes and a no answer. I think no, if you're sending a resume unsolicited to an individual, a hiring manager at HR, they're not looking to fill a role. Yes, if you are applying for a position, because even though it's not very personal, it's going to at least have the buzzwords on it that relevant to the job. So at least you're going to get a look at. So if I was sending a resume unsolicited to a company, I would make it very, very personal. I'd have the cover letter, who I am, and my resume would say what I did. If I had a professional do it and I was applying for a job that everyone else is applying for, I would probably have them help me generate the right thing so I know what they're looking for. So I don't know what it costs to have someone write your resume. But
and I think it depends.
I'm sure,
I think it depends on. Go ahead.
I just think there's a lot of tools online now where they'll show you how to write a resume. I mean, there's AI now that you can download on your computer. And they're going to do what I don't know. Technology is kind of taken over. It's taken the personal side out of things. So I think if you're looking for a look and you want the HR person, the only way you're going to get that look is through the buzzwords. But if it's unsolicited, I'd make it personal and I wouldn't have someone do it.
And I think it does depend on whether, like, if your forte and the role you're going for is graphic design or marketing or, programming, computer software engineering, I think if you should know enough about how you're going to present yourself, because this is what you're going to be doing: graphic design, marketing, PR, whatever it is. Then if you're going to a professional to write, then what do you really know? How can you demonstrate it? How can you show it? Now, for those of us who are more in like admin or, something other than that, then I think sometimes, you might need some help.
Well, I do know one of my colleagues was looking for a new job, and with her own written resume, she didn't go anywhere. Then she decided to invest a few $100s with a professional resume writer, and then she got a job within 1 month. So who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, if we can predict the future, none of us be talking right now.
Yeah. But I do think, like, if that's going to be your job, you should be able to do a pretty decent job of designing whatever you're marketing, right?
And I've said this before. If you're relying on someone else for your success, you've failed. So if someone was writing my resume, I would make sure that I'm writing it with them, because I know what I want on the resume. So yes, sometimes you need help in phrasing things or how to write things. Like Roberta does all that for me, because look, I can give her ideas, I just can't put it down on paper.
Mm-hmm.
But she can. So sometimes you definitely need help, and so don't be afraid to ask for help.
Right. I think the other one thing that's correlating with this, keep your LinkedIn profile up to date. That's so important. If you want people to notice you, like recruiters, like with what we do, and we're going out and looking for gainfully employed people who do exactly what we're looking for, and those are the only people we contact, keep your profile up to date. Put specific achievements on it. Keep it relevant so that we notice you and you jump out. If you're active on LinkedIn with articles or whatever, and then you go to the top of the list of who jumps out in this field, and that's what we're looking for and targeting, make sure you're one of those people that we see.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I think we just overran a little bit, so that will be the final question for today. So thank you so much, Nick and Roberta, for your
Thank
help
you.
today.
And thank you. And guys, feedback would be great. We'd love any kind of feedback.
Absolutely. So feel free to email us at Gated Talent, info@gatedtalent.com, or you can also leave a feedback on Trustpilot, or you can also connect with Nick and Roberta directly on LinkedIn and send them your thoughts or questions. So thanks again, everybody. We'll see you soon again on another webinar. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Roberta.
Thank you, Jan.
Have a great day, and hopefully we can do another one later in the year.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
All right,
Take care.
Bye.